what's up, everyone? This is the Life Extension Research channel, YouTube channel for now, but I'll be branching out to Vimeo and Library and various other video platforms. But today I'm talking with Dennis Kowalski. He's the president of the Cryonics Institute. And since I talk about life extension research, I got to talk to Dennis because Cryonics is just so awesome. Just to begin, Dennis, could you provide me with what Cryonics really is, just like a general definition?
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks, Bobby, for having me on your channel.
Yeah.
It's a common question. So a lot of people hear about cryonics in science fiction, and actually the idea has been around for probably thousands of years in one shape, form, or another,
Jeez.
going back to the Egyptians and mummification or people being frozen in ice to be brought back in the future. I know even Benjamin Franklin talked about it back in the day. He talked about being preserved in a cask of Madeira wine so that he could see what the country would turn into in another 100 or 200 years.
Yeah.
So the idea has been around, and it pops up in and out of science fiction. I don't know how many movies that you've seen it in. Forever Young with Mel Gibson, Sleeper, Woody Allen, going back into most space travel type movies have people in cryopreservation. But it wasn't until the 1960s that Robert Ettinger, a professor of physics, decided to actually explore the idea and look at it and see, is this actually feasible under scientific principles and rigorous study. He actually looked at the subject, and he wrote a book called Prospect of Immortality, and it became a #1 bestseller. And he thought, okay, my job is done. The world's going to embrace this, and it's a good idea. And everyone did say it's a great idea, but then nobody did anything about it.
Yeah.
So then he decided to form the Cryonics Institute. Well, first there was a group called the Immortalist Society. They kind of the philosophical, side of people discussing whether it's a good idea, the morals of it, and so forth. And then the action group became the Cryonics Institute, where they actually started freezing people for the future. So basically, in a nutshell, to get back to your question, what is cryonics? The cryonics is the process in which people have decided to freeze, and we like to use the term vitrify, actually, which is cooling patients down to very cold temperatures, liquid nitrogen temperatures, in fact, and locking you in a steady, solid state condition so that there's no more deterioration. And it has to be done after legal death, of course. So it's very much like when someone goes into cardiac arrest. You call emergency 911, and people rush to their side. They do CPR, and they try to bring that person back. But you've only got, under warm conditions, you've only got anywhere from, they used to say 5 minutes, but they've extended that out to half hour. And of course, that depends on temperature as well.
Yeah, it's currently one of the only methods right now that exists to extend someone's lifespan. At least the greatest chance of extending someone's lifespan.
Yeah. So in another 100 years, a lot of things that we think are impossible today will obviously be most likely possible in the future.
Yeah.
So we can't really say what is or isn't possible within scientific reason. I don't think they'll be able to bring a person back who has been buried or cremated, because all your material matter, your DNA, is completely destroyed. All the information that makes up your mind is completely destroyed. So we're trying to save that information. We're trying to save the DNA, the structure of your body, and the structure of your mind, what makes up all your thoughts. To the best of our knowledge, that's how your thoughts and mind are stored on your brain in the form of patterns.
Definitely.
So cryonics locks everything into place, and basically it's an ambulance ride to the future.
Yeah, that'd be awesome if technology advanced enough to even bring back like a caveman frozen in ice, that sort of deterioration without the vitrification process. But
that's if you actually look at that question scientifically, that's not very likely, because even when we think, in the movies, of course, they show you bringing back the caveman in ice, but at ice temperatures, that's way too warm. A lot is going on at ice temperatures. And there's an equation, or a Remus equation, that it tells you how cold you have to be to actually lock things into place. So it's actually, and we know this intuitively. Like you take a bowl of potato salad, you put it out on a warm picnic table, it's only going to last so long. You put it in your fridge, it lasts
Yeah.
longer. You put it, you freeze food, it lasts even longer. But you
Well,
put
what's
it,
that equation called?
I believe it's called the Remus equation. I hope I'm not mispronouncing it,
Okay.
but it's a exponential factor of the more you cool things, the more time you have, because basically what warmth is molecular movement, right? So in order for there to be decay or breakdown of anything, or even chemical changes, you need temperature.
Yeah.
So that's why chemical reactions happen faster when things are warmer than they do when things are colder, because the molecules are moving slower versus faster. So when you slow down the molecules, the reactions are slower and slower and slower. But it's an exponentially slower um, outcome the colder you get. So it's almost as if, and don't, this is not going to be exact here, but if something is at room temperatures and you have got, you know, maybe 5 minutes to save that person in cardiac arrest, or 5 minutes for that item before it decays or breaks down. If you put it in a fridge, those minutes turn into hours. So it's like 5 minutes becomes 5 hours.
Okay.
And that's currently kind of where we're at in conventional medicine with therapeutic hypothermia. But if you put it down to ice temperatures, freezing, then that turns hours into maybe months. But you still have breakdown and decay even at freezer temperature. That's why we get, freezer burned and freezer destroyed food after 6 months or a year.
Okay.
So, but then if you go even further out into like dry ice temperatures, which is much colder than a standard freezer, then instead of months, you have years. But we're only talking, but you see how the number is getting bigger and bigger. Then you get to
Okay.
liquid nitrogen temperatures, which is about negative 351 degrees negative Fahrenheit. At those temperatures, you still have breakdown and decay, but minutes become like tens of thousands of years. So instead of having only 5 minutes to finish the cardiac arrest or revive that person, now you've got like 10,000 years, which should be, in theory, more than enough time for the future to develop new technologies or not. There's no guarantees in cryonics. I like to say, the only guarantee is if people don't sign up and they get buried or cremated, then they're guaranteed to not find out. But if
Yeah.
they do sign up, you never know. The future might be as advanced as it is now compared to 100 years ago.
Yeah. And
So,
so